Hello and welcome to today's Painful Thought. Today we examine some concepts involved in healing from trauma. Bottling up pain only delays the explosion. Emotional suppression is a common coping mechanism, often learned in childhood or reinforced by societal messages like, stay strong or don't cry. However, psychology and neuroscience research consistently show that avoiding emotions doesn't make them disappear, it actually amplifies them. Unprocessed pain doesn't dissolve, it festers, often resurfacing as things like physical symptoms, chronic pain, fatigue, autoimmune flare-ups, emotional outbursts such as sudden anger or disproportionate reactions, and mental health struggles, including anxiety, depression, or dissociation. Why suppression backfires? First, the emotional pressure cooker effect. Research on emotional inhibition shows that suppressing feelings increases physiological stress, raising cortisol levels and weakening immune function. Trauma expert Bessel van der Kolk, back in 2014, explains that unprocessed emotions actually get stored in the body. This can lead to muscle tension, digestive issues, panic attacks, and, a whole host of other problems. When emotions aren't processed, the autonomic nervous system, it sort of remains in this chronic state of dysregulation. So you might experience sympathetic overactivation, which can look like hypervigilance, anxiety, or panic attacks. Or, on the other hand, you could end up with parasympathetic dominance, feeling numb, dissociated, or just plain fatigued. Sometimes people get stuck in a freeze response, muscle tension, feeling shut down, as described by Porges in 2011. The connection between the brain, emotions, and body is, quite profound. The amygdala, which is our brain's fear center, can stay on high alert, making us more emotionally reactive, as Ledoux pointed out in 1996. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, that's the rational part of the brain, may weaken its ability to regulate emotions, according to Arnsten, 2009. And the hippocampus, which handles memory, might actually shrink, making trauma feel sort of unstuck in time, as Bremner described in 2006. So let's talk about how stress shows up in our bodies. Unprocessed stress, often leads to chronic muscle tension. This can show up in the jaw, causing things like TMJ disorders or teeth grinding, and it's pretty common in the neck and shoulders too, what some people call a stress posture. Even the lower back can be affected, leading to psychosomatic pain, as Dr. Sarno described back in 2006. Now, when it comes to the immune system and inflammation, chronic emotional suppression is actually linked to higher levels of cortisol, which, unfortunately, weakens our immunity. There's research showing that repressed anger is associated with autoimmune disorders such as rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. And let's not forget about the digestive and cardiovascular impact. The gut-brain axis means that emotional stress can disrupt digestion, leading to things like IBS or ulcers. Over the long term, suppressing emotions is also tied to hypertension and heart disease. So really, the effects of stress can be felt throughout the entire body. People often bottle up emotions to keep the peace or avoid vulnerability, but honestly, this just creates internal chaos. True emotional control comes from processing, not silencing. Avoidance reinforces fear. The more we push emotions away, the more intimidating they become. So, how do we process pain instead of bottling it up? Name it to tame it. Labeling emotions like saying, "I feel grief," actually reduces their intensity. Move the emotion through the body. Using somatic techniques such as shaking, deep breathing, or even yoga can help release trapped stress. Creative expression, whether through art, music, or journaling, gives us a safe way to externalize our feelings. Talk it out. Therapy or trusted relationships provide containment for pain. Practice emotional tolerance. Mindfulness teaches you to stay with discomfort instead of fleeing it. Healing begins when we stop treating our pain like a bomb to diffuse and start treating it like a message to decode. Suppressing your emotions might feel like a short-term solution, but over time, bottled up pain accumulates and erupts in unexpected ways. The more you make space for your emotions, the less control they have over you. Here are some personal reflection questions to consider. When was a time you pushed down emotions instead of expressing them? What fears or beliefs drove that choice? How did suppressed feelings later manifest, physically, like headaches or insomnia, emotionally, such as irritability or numbness, or behaviorally, for example, overworking or substance use? If you could fully acknowledge one buried emotion right now, what would it be? What would it feel like to let it exist without judgment? What's one gentle way you could express a stifled emotion this week? Maybe writing unsent letters, screaming into a pillow, or having a therapy session. Finally, how might your life change if you viewed feeling deeply as courage rather than weakness? Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Until next time, I wish you less painful thoughts.